Let's go ahead and we'll get into it. Thanks so much, Tom. I appreciate it. Patrick, are you ready to do some fact finding?
Hell yeah.
Tom, are you ready to do some fact finding?
The second I'm done with this tweet,
You-
hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome back. I appreciate it so much for joining us today. I've got Patrick here to the left, Tom with here to the right, and we are fact-checking Robert F. Kennedy Jr., what he said on the Joe Rogan Experience, episode 1999. He said some crazy things, to which we're just going to have to fact-check, right? Because, I don't know, I guess if you offer someone $2.5 million to come on the air and fact-check them, right, if 1 + 1 = 3, right, and you offer someone $2.5 million to come in the air and prove them wrong, and they don't want to do that, well, fine. I'm just going to have to roll up my sleeves and do it myself.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Right? Like,
So here we are.
so here we are. I'm not doing it alone. I've got
Wait for that
Patrick.
check.
How are we doing today,
All right.
Patrick?
Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good.
Are you ready to dive into this? I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I know
Claim
Tom.
5 and 6?
Yeah, claims 5 and 6. So this is a controversial one, but actually not really. 2000. His claim for claims 5 and 6. We'll go ahead and include it now. We just kind of like lump the claims together. We have a video for claims 1 through 5 if you want to see what happened there. The fishtail end of that one. But let's go ahead and talk about claim 6 here.
2003, the National Academy of Sciences and the FDA had published a report, like a 5-year study, that showed that every freshwater fish in America had dangerous levels of mercury in its flesh.
2003, FDA and the National Academy of Science published a 5-year study showing every freshwater fish has dangerous levels of mercury. So we looked into this. We're going to do some more research here because that's what we're doing. We're researching it live. But from what we could find, this study does not exist. However, we did find something else. If we look here, and Patrick was so kind to do a lot of the research for us ahead of time. We're going to go through all the research, go through all the sources. But one source I found, Patrick, that I thought you might be interested in is this right here, talking about a 2009 EPA mercury study that collected fish from 500 randomly selected U.S. lakes and reservoirs. Mercury, as well as PCBs, were detected in every fish sample from all 500 lakes and reservoirs. 49% of the samples had mercury concentrations exceeding the EPA's human health screening value of 0.3 parts per million. Okay? So just off the bat, this is a false claim. And we'll do a Google search. If one of you guys want to Google real fast, look up the 2003 FDA study to show it's not there. Right? So but I've lost sleep over this. I've had lots of thoughts about it. One, is 500 reservoirs enough? Because I was thinking, is that enough? Like, some people are going to be like, that's not enough. But I think that's enough, right? Like, because where do you drop the line, right? Like, if this study...
Was it only reservoirs?
Lakes and reservoirs.
Lakes and reservoirs.
Yeah. But, like, so if this was 100 lakes, you'd be like, well, that's not enough. All right, fine, double it. Now, we're studying 200 lakes, all the fish in there. Well, is that really a large enough sample size? All right, we'll double it again to 400, right? Like, is that enough? Like, 500 is a lot of lakes and reservoirs. And if it's 100% batting average at 500 lakes and reservoirs, like, that's a pretty health. So, like, that's something I've been struggling with, is, like, how many lakes is enough to, like, kind of get away, say it. But, like, you know, is 100 enough? 100's a lot, but then we doubled it, and, like, 500 is more than 400, right? So, like, I feel like that's a lot,
Where's
personally.
the EPA study that you were talking about?
So...
Okay, here we go.
If we click on it here, it says this study, this webpage does not exist.
Jesus Christ, that right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay?
So they took the
Make sure it didn't happen, bro.
Yeah, so they
one thing is
took the study down.
there's a difference between maybe what the EPA is looking for and what
the claim's false, right? It says every freshwater fish has dangerous levels of mercury. So while we found that every fish has levels of mercury, only 49% had dangerous levels of mercury.
Yeah.
Now, Tom and I, because we did this beforehand, we're redoing this for the live stream. We talked in depth about what is considered a safe level of mercury, and if you're, an overprotective parent or a conscientious parent, whatever adjective you want to use, right, to smash that like button. If you're a parent who cares, then any level of mercury could be dangerous. But according to the definitions given by the government as what a dangerous level of mercury is, no, only 49%.
And you do, as like a parent and as an individual yourself, do need to be pretty respectful of your own physical size in conjunction to how much mercury you're intaking. Because a larger person theoretically would be able to like metabolize more.
Also, has a big difference depending on what age you are. Like if you're
exactly,
young,
if you're an infant or a child, you should be very limited.
Yeah.
Or if you're pregnant, because a lot of it gets transferred through to the baby, through the mother.
Here's what I was gonna say though. Also, is there's might be a difference in dangerous level from FDA to EPA. EPA might be testing for different reasons. So FDA would be for consumption. And so what did you say? 3 parts per billion?
0.3 parts per million, ppm per million.
3, okay.
Yeah,
so that would be 3 parts per 10 million? Yeah, so that doesn't sound like very much, but I'm actually not sure.
I mean, cyanide. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, fentanyl, doesn't that kill you with laughably small amounts of doses? So I'm not saying mercury's fentanyl, right? I'm just saying you don't need a lot of something to kill you.
Well, I mean, we've also talked about this before, though, is that all tuna has mercury in it, and it has an acceptable amount. Your body gets rid of it, and it doesn't really do any damage.
And we've talked about it on the live stream, right? Go check out the other videos that pregnant women actually have less mercury than normal American women, right? A claim we found to be false from RFK.
Bis punitor delicatum. It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
So, yeah, I just don't know if there's any difference between what the EPA is looking for and what the FDA is looking for.
Before all the conspiracy theorists out there are like, that 2009 EPA study doesn't exist. It might exist, it might not exist. I don't know, right? But here's, from the hhs.gov.
Once again, we welcome
all
come on and prove us wrong.
Yes, please. Or anyone, come on and explain this to us. We'd love it. But like this, so this website, this is a dead link as well. So I'm just wondering, $32 trillion in debt, how much of it is really maintaining the infrastructure of research studies?
The internet?
Yeah.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Most of it's going to highways in Iraq that get blown up the next day. It's kind of ridiculous.
But that way you can rebuild them.
Yeah. That way Halliburton makes shitloads of money.
Build it
all right.
back better.
And if you like conspiracy theories...
I was like, did I send you that article? Did I send you about the Halliburton deal? Like, all right, so that's going to definitely be an episode of how much money Dick Cheney made off of Halliburton. Like, I had no idea because I was like 12 at the time.
Also in the government who made the war. But anyway,
as far as Claim 6 goes, 2003 FDA and National Academy of Science published a 5-year study showing every freshwater fish had dangerous levels of mercury. We found that to be technically false, but also outright false. And the reason why we're specifying that is because we did find a 2009 EPA study that surveyed randomly 500 freshwater lakes and reservoirs, and they all had mercury. However, only 49% had what's considered dangerous levels of mercury at 0.3 parts per million. So semantics as to what is a dangerous amount of mercury, right? But this is just false. This wasn't by the FDA and the National Academy of Science. It was by the EPA, and the EPA showed that it had levels of every freshwater fish had levels of mercury, but not dangerous. So technically false and also false. Claim 7.
The CDC simultaneously published a study that showed that 1 out of every 6 American women had levels high enough in her core blood or that her child would have some kind of intellectual deficiency, like lost IQ, etc.
What were we talking about here? 1 out of every 6 women had enough mercury to harm babies and create intellectual deficiencies. So what were we saying about this, guys?
The claim for this one, I guess, we'll just kind of start and go through it because we'll come across it again. 1 in every 6 women are thought to have enough mercury to harm babies and have intellectual deficiencies. And in a somewhat small study, I guess, there's a 18%, or it is actually true for a study that was in Japan. However, in the United States, the numbers are currently, it's false.
Well, the thing about that is that 1 in 6, so it was false because I think 11 out of 12 are without any effects at all.
Yeah.
But the Japan study was specific to an acute poisoning from industrial waste in a small town. It only affected one town. There was I think some factory was polluting the water right next to the town. So all the fish that they were catching was coming from this. It's kind of like if you had a town and then everybody was catching fish out of the radioactive runoff. You know what I mean? Ooh.
Right.
Like you shouldn't have been eating those fish, and it's not across the board. And the point of that was to show that even in like a situation where they had like a really big problem that they knew about and like came in and checked it, and there was a big leakage from a plant nearby, to the point that it was very noticeable. Only in that situation was it 1 in 6.
Yeah.
So certainly not broadly across the board, and not in America.
And not just from eating regular fish that aren't swimming in nuclear waste.
Yeah.
Or runoff.
For instance, I think there's from the same article, there was another one with contaminated seeds in Iran, and that had similar results. So, yeah, if you have an acute, like if you drink a vial of mercury, you're not going to be okay. Yeah. But if you eat fish out of the ocean, that doesn't have a problem.
If you eat a normal, normal American diet level of, if you eat a FDA recommended amount of fish out of the ocean, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
At best, I think people eat it maybe once a week. For the most part, unless you're like a pescatarian
or a bodybuilder. Canned tuna is a good source of protein. And it's pretty cheap. Yeah.
Tilapia. I mean, I don't got nothing against fish. It's just not very common.
I mean, they're crappy pets. They're terrible. They're terrible at fetch.
Their parents have some saltwater fish. They're pretty
cool. Is this empirically false? I would love for him to explain, where is this coming from? Like, this is
made it up for dramatic effect.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but he doesn't seem like a Biden to me. No, I'm just kidding. That was a low blow out of nowhere. That's just because, have you heard? Like, Biden said like 5 ridiculous lies this last week. I was like, why are we fact checking RFK? Let's fact check the president here. He has not declared climate change a national emergency. He lied to the Weather Channel. That's such a weird thing to do, right? Like, going on and being hyperbolic on Joe Rogan, we can talk about the merits and morals of it. But being the president of the United States and going on the Weather Channel and then lying to their face and be like, no, we've declared climate change a national emergency. And she's like, have you? And he's like, you got a bug on your on your shoulder. And she's like, oh, thanks. But have you? And dude, it's so awkward.
Was it the same fly that was on Mike Pence or whatever the heck it was?
Mike Pence was like, someone created a Twitter account like instantly.
And it blew up.
And it blew up. And that was like the best 12 hours of Twitter ever. It was so great. All right, let's go on. Let's talk about claim 8 here.
And where's the mercury coming from?
The mercury was largely coming from coal burning power plants. It's in the geology in the coal, and it precipitates out, when there's rain. When you burn the coal, it's in the, it's an element, so it doesn't degrade.
Mercury levels in fish came from coal plants and kiln plants.
Yes,
now,
100%
we've
true.
found this to be true. I'm sure it comes from other places, as in thermometers.
But predominantly, this is a huge contributor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, go nuclear, not coal. It's fucking dirty.
Yeah.
Gives all kinds of people all kinds of problems, especially if you're in like one of the mining towns.
And then there's like a blatant mercury health effects thing there too that's neat to look at.
The coal plants are killing us.
Just for those listening, anthropogenic, human-caused sources of mercury to the atmosphere are largely from combustion of materials that contain mercury, with coal combustion, electric utility boilers, and commercial/industrial boilers being the largest source in the United States, according to a 1997 EPA report to Congress. Let's see. This also talks about, however, the main source of mercury in the environment is from human activity through coal combustion, electrical power generation, and industrial waste disposal. Once mercury is released into the environment, it can be converted to a biological toxic in the form of methylmercury by microorganisms found in soil in the aquatic environment. So, true.
Yep.
All right,
Wow.
that was a little close there. We were like 2 falses in a row. RFK. But let's go ahead and we'll move on to claim 9.
The seminal primal activity of American youth that I had grown up with, of your parents taking you to the local fishing hole and then coming home and safely eating the fish. You can't do that anymore in the United States of America or anywhere in North America.
There is
This
no
one was
place.
one of those that we.
Well, yeah,
oh,
9 is like
read it
5
out.
and 6, basically.
Yeah, so I hate number 9.
Yeah.
I hate claim 9. For anyone watching us, do not judge us on claim 9. Comment down below. What do you think? Because the merits here, it gets into parenting, and that's because, like I've talked about in previous episodes, I'm about to be a dad. My beautiful, beautiful wife is 38 weeks pregnant. Like she could pop it like any moment. I gotta go. Right? Can't ever have more than 2 beers because I gotta be ready to drive at any time. That's how much you're gonna she. No.
One for the road. Come on.
One for the road. Just a roadie. No, not at all. No. I'm so excited to be a dad, right? But so I get as I morph into this thing we call being a parent, thanks to Allstate, I am becoming my dad, whether I like it or not.
Good luck. I can say.
There are parents, and some parents are super chill, and they're like, "Hey, go play in the woods," right? And some parents are like, I'm gonna have a drone follow you as you're riding your bike because I'm a helicopter parent, right?"
Yeah.
So let's get into claim 9. There is no place in North America where you can go out and eat fish, right? You're talking about catching fish, right? So if you don't want to consume any mercury, then this is true. As the EPA study we looked at before showed that 500 out of 500, all the fish have some levels of mercury. Only 49% had dangerous levels of mercury, or levels of mercury that were considered dangerous because they were more than the 0.3 parts per million per standards of the U.S. government. So it depends on the parent, right? If you don't want them to eat any mercury, then, well, one, they can't eat any fish in general, right? Whether they go out and they catch it in a pond, or if they go eat some sushi at Benihana's. I don't know if Benihana's has sushi. I've never eaten there, right? But there's mercury everywhere. So it depends. If you're a parent who doesn't want their kid to consume any mercury, then no, there is nowhere you can go out and eat a fish. So I don't know how you call this true or false, but it's definitely false, because I've eaten fish in North America. We all have, and we're all still breathing. We're all still alive.
Technically false, and also I think it depends also the lake. If you go to a lake far away from a coal plant, I'm sure you could get something better. Like if you were out.
How
up in
no.
Manitoba,
This was
North
random.
America.
This was random. If we're gonna trust the science and trust the scientists and believe in the math, then you have to believe that these were actually randomized lakes. So
Well,
the
he says
location of
no
the coal
lake.
wouldn't matter.
So it's not random.
No, I'm talking
No
about the EPA
lake.
study. He said no lakes,
Oh.
and the EPA
Yeah, but
study
they-
surveyed 500. Look, if I said everyone, if I
Well,
said
was it 500 lakes around coal plants?
If
Or
I
was
said,
it-
well, no, it was 500
like-
random. It was 500 random lakes, so it wouldn't matter if they were close to coal plants or not.
Well, they might have a bias in their study, like things that are closer to cities. Anyway,
That's true. That's why I was saying, are we going to
Yeah.
trust the science or we're not going to trust the science? Like,
I'd
all
like
right,
to see a map of the United States of where the 500 lakes are, and it should
You-
be fairly well evenly distributed across, I would imagine.
you would hope.
You would hope.
It also says North America.
Wait,
though,
why?
the United
Why?
States.
Oh, North
the
America,
the
okay.
lakes aren't evenly
So you could
distributed.
find somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Manitoba, or go ice fishing in the North Pole area of Canada, and I'm sure that would have much less.
Right. But also, I want to go back to Tom's concern here. You'd like to see a map where they're evenly distributed, but lakes and reservoirs aren't evenly distributed across the United
Sure.
States.
Sure.
So that's something to
But-
keep in mind. So that's something to keep in mind, right? You want to see
Okay.
a proportion, right?
Yeah. But like a fairly spread, not like in city clusters, but like it probably would be. That's
Yeah.
tough, yeah.
They have to go where the water
Everyone
goes.
builds around water, so we've just defaultly affected all of the water.
So, claim 9. There is no place in North America where you can go out and eat fish. We found it to be false. I had fish and chips last week. I'm still breathing. Let's move on. Claim 10. RFK lobbies the EPA to reduce mercury.
So I was also pushing legislation about mercury, lobbying EPA to reduce it.
Now, we found this to be plausible. We're going to go ahead and show you why. There's this YouTube video here. I'm not going to play it for you guys, but you guys can look at it. Okay, so we were already watching this.
It's actually switched over as well.
This is really good. This is Environmental Health and Democracy with RFK Jr., the University of California Television, UCTV. Right, but basically, we found this to be plausible. I didn't know this before doing the research.
Like clear
but-
records, but yeah, he was pretty active in this.
Did you know Obama almost made RFK Jr. The head of the EPA?
That would have been nuts.
Let's see, RFK too controversial for the EPA. So, some energy and environmental lobbyists are worried that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s controversial past would thwart. Thank you, Politico.com, for an excellent use of the word thwart there. Would thwart his Senate confirmation if President-elect Barack Obama tapped in to be the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was primarily energy. It doesn't seem very pro coal or anything like that.
Can you imagine what kind of different America we'd be in right now if Obama put RFK as the head administrator of the EPA? I'm saying this as someone as an ignorant person. I have no idea what the outcome would be. If you are more educated on the fact than I, or you have some kind of idea like what America would look like today, comment down below or tweet at us, because I have no idea. It would be interesting, right? It'd probably be better
It would
than
be
putting an oil lobbyist as head of the EPA, right? So I have no idea what it would look like, but it would be interesting, right? Could probably do more push-ups. I don't know how that would affect the EPA, but it would be a strong suit. So we're gonna say that's plausible that he reached out to the EPAs, right? He was looked at heavily by Obama to be a head administrator of the EPA. But let's go ahead and recap this real fast. Thanks, guys, so much for joining us for claims 6 through 10. As we discussed before, you can check out the whole video in the description down below. For claim 6, 2003, the FDA and the National Academy of Science published a 5-year study showing every freshwater fish had dangerous levels of mercury. We found that to be technically false and outright false. We did find a really interesting study of the EPA in 2009, where they randomly surveyed 500 freshwater lakes and reservoirs, and they all tested positive for mercury. However, only 49% had what's considered dangerous levels of mercury at more than 0.3 parts per million. So that's false. Moving on to clean 7. 1 out of every 6 women have enough mercury to harm babies and create intellectual deficiencies. We found out to be absolutely false. Not only is that not true, but like pregnant women have less mercury than non-pregnant women. We did find some interesting case studies with Japan, but that's very select, and here specifically RFK talks about American women. Claim 8, mercury levels in fish came from coal plants and kiln plants. We found out to be absolutely true, backed up by science and the EPA. Claim 9, there is no place in North America where you can go out and eat fish. Again, it's down to semantics. How much of a protective parent are you, right? If you don't want any mercury, then no, you can't go out and eat fish anywhere. Not at a freshwater lake, not at Benihana's, not at Walmart, okay? But if you want to be able to eat fish and not die due to mercury poisoning, there's a good chance your local lake can supply that fish for you. Last but not least, claim 10, RFK lobbies the EPA to reduce mercury. We found it to be plausible through all the research we've done and will be doing. Make sure to like and subscribe to catch all of it. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you guys in the next video.